What's up, anyone who joins this late night live stream? I don't know why I'm talking so quietly. I'm just sitting in my car by myself. So I want to start this live stream off with pointing out the title. So I'm going to get into answering the question, or getting to the idea of this video, which is just talking about how to jump higher, and that was from a post that I just made on Instagram. But before I get into that, I just want to do something that I don't outwardly do enough of, and that is just thank anyone who watches any of my videos. I was just looking at a statistic on my channel analytics that in last month, so the month of April, I had 62,000 watch time throughout my channel. And just the thing about that, I mean, it's just crazy that people, not only in the United States is only 40% of my total audience. So 40% of people in the United States, the rest of the people are around the world watching anything I put out. Is just, it's kind of crazy to think about. And I was talking about it with one of my friends, and just not something I think about a lot, but when you put it in perspective, it's crazy. And then just the thing about that, like one of my best videos, or my best video, has 150,000 views, which is enough people to fill a soccer or football stadium, which is, again, just a crazy thing to think about, that many people around the world see anything that I'm putting out and see anything I'm doing is crazy to think about. So I just want to thank anyone who has watched any of my videos, who has followed on this channel for any length of time, who has helped me through my YouTube channel journey, if you want to call it that, yeah, and just for watching me do anything I do that I put on the internet. So that's the first thing I want to start out with, is just giving a thanks to anyone out there who sees this, who sees anything I put out, and who has helped me along the way. So to get into what this live stream is about, I wanted to get into, like I said, talking about a post I made on my Instagram that was just about how to jump higher. And it's just a question that I've got a lot, and there's 3 people in the chat, or 3 people in the live stream right now. So late one. Surprised how many people are in here. But yeah, so I just want to break down that post. So basically, in that post I made, I gave like a complete summary, and it was just something that I took just a little bit longer to think about before answering the question that somebody asked me. It was something about just how to jump higher, how do I increase my vertical, something like that. And before, I just think I would give I would try to give specifics about like how to jump higher, exercises to do, and all this stuff. But what I really just wanted to think about was how to give just like a complete summary that would just make sense in terms of like how to actually perform better, and in this case, jump higher. So I have the post. I don't know why that just did that. I have the post on my camera right here, so I'm just gonna read it off. So I'm just going to read it off fully, or completely, and then I'm going to break down each one and kind of give a little reason on why I put that in there. So, how to jump higher. Warm up thoroughly as if you were preparing for a 1 rep max of a heavy lift. Practice your full approach dunk technique on a low rim. Practice rim touches on a high rim. Lift heavy, move fast, but under control. Know how to move slow. Work your core. Practice touching points out of reach. Make sure to recover a day or so after long jump sessions. Incorporate light rehab exercises, balance, work up to challenging plyometrics, hurdles, depth jumps, bounds, eat nutrient-dense foods, foam roll and stretch, sleep enough to feel rejuvenated, find things that interest you besides jumping and dunking, and finally, enjoy life. So to go back to the top, I'm just going to start off with breaking down why I chose to... what's up, Lester? Dude, tips for knee pain. Yeah, so I'll get into that. I'll always answer questions in the chat at the end. I just want to make sure that I cover what the topic of this live stream is about, and then I'll answer any questions at the end. So the first part of this, warm up thoroughly as if preparing for a 1 rep max of a heavy lift. So the reason I put this in there is because if you think about it, when you're preparing, or if you're preparing to do like a 1 rep of your bench, say you're maxing out on bench, you're not going to just jump under the bar and try to do your max right away. You're going to do something to warm up your chest, warm up your shoulders. Maybe you might even break a sweat. Do something so that way you feel prepared for the lift, and you're not thinking about injuring yourself because you're not warmed up enough. So with jumping, that's why I put warm up thoroughly, because I feel like it's not really looked at as a 1 rep max, but if you if it's harder for you to jump, then it's going to be more important that you're thoroughly warmed up before you actually go to jump. And that's something that I've noticed in my just like jumping experience, is that when I'm more warmed up, whether it's like after playing one-on-one or playing a couple full court games, I just feel looser, and I feel like my body is just in tune with jumping. I don't feel like I am hesitating. I don't feel like I have to think about things twice. I just go through my approach, go through the whole jump, and I'm my most explosive when I feel the most warmed up. So that's kind of why I put in warm up thoroughly, as if you're preparing for your 1 rep max. The next one, practice your full approach dunk technique on a low rim. So this is one that I tend to work more on in the summer when I can be outside and actually dunk on lower rims. And if I could do this inside more, I would, which I actually did when I was at college, because the rim there was about 9'8". But when I practice outside now, it's a little bit shorter, where I'll just have fun on low rims with friends or just to mess around. But practicing your full approach dunk on a low rim, I think it could just help you kind of get that thinking pattern down of just being explosive and going 100%. With the dunks, and that's something that you might not be able to practice on if you can't actually dunk on a 10-foot rim yet. So it's just about getting confidence with the jumps, and if you're trying to hit a new dunk, it can help you kind of practice the motion of that new dunk, because you can actually make it on that rim, and you don't have to jump as high, but you could still jump 100% to practice whatever new dunk you're trying, or practice your full approach in this case. So that's the reasoning for that one. Number 3, practice rim touches on a high rim. So this is kind of the same idea or similar idea, but practicing touches on a high rim. So what I mean by that is like a 10-foot rim, or if you have access to a high rim like 10-1, that could be even better. But it's just so you're starting to practice your approach. You're starting to feel out how far you have to be to actually approach the rim, where your takeoff spots are, and just how explosive you have to be if you want to eventually dunk on a 10-foot rim. So just practicing those, just to kind of fine tune your approach. That's something that I do a lot of, or that I'm starting to do more of now, is fine tuning my approach on a 10-foot rim, and also practicing more on a low rim, so that way when I go to a 10-foot rim, I feel more confident trying dunks, and then kind of paying attention to more of the details when I'm trying to dunk, or when I'm jumping at a 10-foot rim, then I just feel like I could gain a little bit of progress over time doing that. So the next one on here is lift heavy, move fast, but under control. So I had lift heavy and then move fast right next to each other, and I kind of was relating that to contrast training. So in contrast training, you will usually do a heavy strength lift, so like a heavier squat, and then you might do a lighter, faster lift, or a faster movement, like a squat jump. So that's kind of why I put those two things together: lift heavy, move fast, but then also adding the under control aspect, because you don't want to lift too heavy to the point where you're going to injure yourself and you're going to give up form. So just making sure that you're doing things under control if you're going to go heavy, and if you're going to do them faster, then also do them under control. Know how to move slow, work your core. So this is something that, again, I learned from injuring my knee, is just working your core a lot more can help you just feel more balanced and stabilized throughout other exercises that you do, and even with jumping. So the more I started to work my core, the slower that I was doing the movements, and the more controlled I started to do the movements. I felt like I was just more in tune with my body, and I was getting a better feel for the movements, rather than just trying to do them all explosively and fast and just doing one rep after another. So next one after that, know how to move slow, work your core. Practice touching points out of reach. So this is something that is kind of like beyond your max point currently. It's trying to go for something that you might not be able to reach yet, but you're going to go, even beyond 100% to try and touch it. So for me, I try to practice touching this point. This metal pole thing at the gym that's like 10-7, and I don't hit that consistently, but it's something that I really have to kind of fine tune my approach, fine tune my entire jump if I want to touch it. So practicing touching that point, and really paying attention to my form when I'm jumping to touch that, I feel like will kind of might have some carryover into my full approach dunk, and it might make it feel easier to dunk on a 10-foot rim or even a low rim. So it's practicing touching points out of reach can just give you more confidence when you're trying to dunk on a 10-foot rim. Unless a 10-foot rim is something that's out of your reach, then practice touching that, or even lower. One after that, make sure to recover a day or so after long jump sessions. So this is something I didn't do that ended up leading to my knee pain. I would just kind of jump back to back or jump multiple times a week. Didn't really think about my recovery time. I would just go one jump session, maybe take a day or two, do another one. But then I had days where I would jump back to back, and it would be like 50 plus jumps each session. So just making sure that you're recovering, you're giving your body enough time to just feel fully recovered is something that can help prevent injury down the line. Incorporate light rehab exercises, and I put balance in parentheses here. This is something that I've started to do also because of my knee pain that I had. I just noticed little things from jumping that could have caused the knee pain. One of them was just how harsh of an angle my left knee is when I go to jump, and that's what was causing a lot of the pain, was just planting my left foot before I go into my like vertical takeoff. There was a point where I couldn't even plant that. So what I started to do is do like external rotation exercises with that leg. So I was doing something where I'm pushing my leg out, so it's kind of balancing that motion of going in when I jump. So that's what I mean by incorporating light rehab exercises to balance. Just stuff that's not a lot of weight, but can strengthen the muscles that you might be underworking in your jump. Next one I have on here, work up to challenging plyometrics, hurdles, depth jumps, bounds. So these are all things that I had to work with over time. These were not exercises that I was doing right away. If anything, I was probably doing more like sprint movements, dunking on a low rim. Those count as plyometrics, but doing the hurdles, the depth jumps, the bounds, those are all considered like power plyometrics, plyometrics that are a little bit that take a lot more force to actually get the movement down. So work with those over time as you feel more comfortable just doing like sprints and rim touches and things like that. Eat nutrient-dense foods. That just goes along with the recovery aspect of things, just making sure you're getting enough protein, carbs, fats, good fats, omega-3s, everything, just giving your body what it needs to recover from jumping, from dunking, from working out, from anything you do throughout the day. Foam roll, and I put roll in quotes because when I foam roll, I don't necessarily roll over a specific area that might feel tight. I just let it rest on that area until the muscle feels like it's kind of softening, or I feel like the pressure releasing. And then once I do that, I might do some dynamic stretching. So just kind of move my leg around in different ranges of motion, just to kind of work the area back to where it feels comfortable again. Sleep enough to feel rejuvenated. This is a big one, especially in terms of recovery. So I've noticed that I feel like I jump my best when I give myself like 8.5 hours of sleep the day before. This might be a lot for some of you out there. So just kind of play around with just like when do you wake up feeling the most refreshed, the most just ready to go. And I feel like for me, like 8.5 hours, I feel just ready to go. I feel energized right when I wake up, and doesn't seem like it takes that long for me to actually just get going. I just feel ready to go as soon as I wake up. And it also goes along with giving your body enough time to recover. And then the last two things are a little bit outside of the realm of jumping higher, but more of like a mindset thing. So find things that interest you besides jumping and dunking. So sometimes with certain things, if you just start to do them over and over and over again, it starts to feel kind of like a job, gets monotonous, tedious. You kind of lose the love for doing it. So that's why I said find things that interest you besides jumping and dunking. So for me, I like to look into like scientific stuff, a lot of genomic stuff, things about DNA, genes, things like that, and that's stuff that I'll spend time on outside of jumping and dunking. But it makes me want to go back to jumping and dunking at some point. Whereas if I was just jumping and dunking every day, like I was at one point, I was doing it a lot, and I just started to feel like my body was breaking down, and I kind of lost interest in jumping and dunking altogether, and just didn't want to do it anymore. So by giving yourself time away from that, you're just gonna start to miss it, and it'll be more fun when you go back to it, either later that day or the next day or whenever you go back to it. And then lastly, enjoy life. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Just do things that are interesting to you. Be around people that you genuinely enjoy being around, that make your life fulfilling, more interesting. And also be open to criticism, to questioning, and that's something that I constantly am working on, is just not letting things get to me too harshly, and just taking things as they come, and not taking them personally. That's what I was looking for. Yeah, so just be open to conversations that people want to have with you. Be open to ideas. Be open to even just learning new information, to exploring different realms of topics, of subjects, of careers, even of schools, whatever it is that you're doing. Just be open to more, and enjoy what you're doing in your life. So that's just a wrap up of that post that I made to Instagram. If you guys want to follow me there, it's just at Michael Barrins. But I'm gonna get to the live chat now, see who's in here. Lester. So Lester said tips for knee pain. Yeah, so I pointed out a couple things from that post that kind of go along with my tips for knee pain. Main one I would say is, if your knee pain is so bad that you can't jump, or it hurts to like take a step, then definitely take time off of jumping and dunking. So anything that's getting your body off the ground, I would just take time away from that. What I did at the beginning was a lot of body weight isometrics, where I was barely, so like say this knuckle right here is my knee, I would only go down about that far until I felt pain, and I would just hold that position for 45 seconds. I would do like 5 rounds of that every single day until I was getting lower and lower and lower into like a squat. And then as soon as I felt no pain in that squat, that's when I started to do more like weighted exercises again. But I was also doing a lot of core stuff in that time. So I would say probably 2 weeks after doing those isometrics, where I was just holding in that position, I also started doing like leg lift exercises. So stuff that's working my hip flexors. So basically just hanging from a bar, picking my knees up as high as I can, and doing like isometric holds at the top. So I was doing a lot of hip strengthening stuff, hip opening, hip mobility stuff. Another one was the rehab exercise that I've posted to Instagram and YouTube. It's just where I kick one leg out, and I'm stabilizing one leg here. So if say right here is the machine, this is one leg, and then the other leg is over here. I'm stabilizing my leg here while kicking the other one out. So this one's stabilizing, this one's going out. So that's basically working both like external rotators of your hips or of your legs. So that's another exercise that I worked in a lot, especially at the beginning. So main focus, work on doing isometrics, bodyweight isometrics, working your core, opening up your hips, and then also finding some kind of rehab exercise that's working on like rotating your legs outwards instead of all of the inward force that you have from jumping. So that's pretty much everything, I think. I'm sorry I can't pronounce your name, but hello. Yeah, that's everything I want to cover in this live stream. Once again, thank you to anyone who has followed my channel, who has watched any of these videos. Ocean, why is it that sometimes you can't jump as high some days and other days you can jump high? That's a good question. Not something that I've been able to figure out, but I mean, just put simply, it could just be that you haven't given yourself enough recovery time. Something that I've noticed too is that this was more of when I was in school rather than now, but like say I had a big test coming up in school, then it was just my mind was so focused on like having to study and like just having other priorities, I think, that I just wouldn't feel energized, or I wouldn't feel as just as ready to go go jump or dunk. So if you have days like that, then that might be part of it. Not to say you shouldn't be able to get in the zone when you're there, but yeah, I think that can be part of it. Just things that are happening in your life outside of jumping and dunking that can just kind of feel like a roadblock. That's a big thing. Another thing is, yeah, is just giving yourself enough recovery time. Like I said, I've messed around with different amounts of recovery time, and for me, I feel like giving myself a solid day and a half, 2 days, I feel most recovered and ready to jump my max. I could jump after like a day or so, but I feel like just prime after, if I'm gonna do like a full dunk session where I'm gonna jump maybe like 20 plus times, then giving myself 2 days before is where I feel best. Yeah, so that's the main reason for that. Maybe mess around with like your pre-workouts, like what you have before you go jump or dunk, or what you do before you go jump or dunk. Like experiment with that. For example, like I pretty much drink it every time before I go jump or dunk. I drink an energy drink that has like 300 milligrams of caffeine. I just really like the taste of it. I make sure I have it every time. So it's just something that I do beforehand that just kind of gets me in that. It's just like part of that mindset of preparing me to go dunk and do something that's not the easiest to do. So, yeah, just doing things that just like get you in that mindset to be ready to do it, I think is a big deal, or a big aspect of it. Thank you, and keep up the good work. You're welcome. All right. Surprised this many people were in the live stream this late. Then again, as I said at the beginning of this, not my audience isn't all in the United States, so it's not this late for everyone. But yeah, if nobody else has any questions right now, and end the live stream probably within the next like 20 seconds. But yeah, like I said, if you want to follow me on Instagram, I post stuff on my story there. It's at Michael Barrins. If you guys have any questions or anything you want to talk about on here, just feel free to message me there or leave comments. And yeah, thank you guys for watching this live stream. Thank you for tuning in and chatting if you did. I will see you guys in the next one. And stay tuned for Dunk Progress, Year 3, Month 2. We're starting to work on it. Just need to go through a couple more dunk sessions, get a few more dunks, and then that'll be up. So thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys later.